Today, I want to talk about how can we make remote work more humane. Let me get started a little bit by sharing a little bit about myself. So, I'm born and brought up in the land where Shah Jahan built this beautiful monument of love, Taj Mahal. I started my career in the Silicon Valley of India, Bangalore. Interestingly, Indian IT services export was over 130 billion USD in 2019, and the IT industry is expected to grow to 350 billion USD by 2025. India has 200 plus IT firms which are present in around 80 countries. Sorry, Vaibhav, I did not realize I was not sharing my video. Can you see me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So India has around 200 plus IT firms which are present in 80 plus countries. The top four IT companies, which is TCS, Infosys, Wipro, and HCL, employ 1.02 million people as of December 2019. Talking a bit about where I'm right now, currently I'm based out of Japan, the land of rising sun. Japan has fourth largest IT workforce in the world at 1.09 million. Uh, Interestingly, India is the third largest at 2.12 million. Japan plans to hire 200,000 IT professionals from India by 2020. I also want to share a little bit about the company that I work for. The company I work for is called Rakuten. Rakuten was founded by Hiroshi Mikitani-san in the year 1997. Our initial business, Rakuten Ichiba, is the largest e-commerce site in Japan. Though we started with e-commerce, Rakuten of today offers 70 plus businesses based out of 30 countries and regions. The company also operates Japan's largest internet bank and number one credit card company by transaction volume. We have 1.4 billion global IDs, and annually last year we issued 3.2 billion points. Specifically talking a little bit about the project that I work on. I work on this project called Rakuten Link. It has been launched recently in Japan this year. Rakuten Link is a super app which is currently launched in Japan. We wrap communication services like group chat, messaging, SMS with Rakuten ecosystem services and present it as a super app to the users in Android and iOS. Now, talking a little bit about the topic from today, we'll talk about, want to start by talking about the top challenges that we as a team face initially for remote work. So the first challenge that we faced was managing the overall project and delivering before deadline. A lot of times, like people were unreachable or unavailable, the priorities kept changing, and we were not able to manage our project well. The second problem that we face is remote collaboration. I work with three project teams which are based out of India and Japan. And as of now, all the Rakuten stakeholders that I work with are working remotely. The last one is tracking tasks and productivity. When you're a product manager or you're a project manager, like I personally face this a lot, like it's very difficult to get the status of progress of an individual task. And the issue with Rakuten is like suddenly something could become a very high priority task. So you need to track the status of what is happening with that task. I want to share like these are the problems that we faced initially, and like now we have been working from home for over 6 months. So I want to share some actions that work for our team in general. Today, I want to talk about three topics. One is kindness. How do we use kindness at work? How do we use documentation as a tool and why it's important? And how do we create accountability in our teams? Okay. Talking about kindness a little bit. So the Japanese term of kindness is shinsetsu. And if you know a little bit about Japan, you would know Japan is famous for their politeness and kindness. It is one of the most highly looked after thing in Japan. Whether it's cleaning up football stadiums after they have watched the match, helping lost tourists, or following up in people, kindness is really important to Japanese culture. Why I talk about kindness today is it's very important because kindness is contagious. According to the New England Journal of Medicine, an original act of kindness can influence 10 more acts of kindness. If I compare that with COVID-19, the COVID-19 reproduction rate is 2.5. What that means is that anyone who's been infected by COVID-19 would, on an average, infect 2.5 more people. So if you see, kindness is actually more contagious than COVID-19. I want to talk a little bit about how do we use kindness at work in my teams. So one, we listen to people without distraction. Now, when I say this, it might be very easy for someone to be like, okay, this is, very basic. But the thing is, like with remote becoming our new normal, people have a lot of distractions and this attention spans are really low. So what we end up doing a lot is that, we are talking to someone in a meeting online and then suddenly we get a notification and we're looking at something else, we're checking an email or we're responding to someone else. So we really stress on this a lot. Like we turn on our videos and we try to, listen to people without distraction, confirm our understanding and see everyone's, paying attention and has a shared understanding. The other thing that we do in our team is that we check up on our teammates. So one of the biggest problems with remote workers of today is that they face loneliness. In Japan, we also have a term for it. It's if somebody is developing social reclusion, it's called hikokomori. Basically what we how we use this one is like a lot of times, like some of our colleagues comes up in the morning and they send a group message saying they're not feeling well or they would take the day off due to some personal issues. um, me and my me and my project manager, we check up on individuals, check if they're doing fine, we send them a message. In our team discussions, we encourage everyone else to do the same. Also, we encourage the team members to talk to each other with one-on-ones. And lastly, like we employ a system where every now and then we have casual conversations like a tea chat or a coffee chat where everyone brings in a beverage and we just discuss things, which does not necessarily have to be related to work. And the last one of how we use kindness at work is giving the benefit of doubt. Our belief in our team, the general motto is that everyone is trying their best. We give them a 100% trust. If, for example, somebody cannot reply back immediately, like we believe they might be in a meeting or discussion with another person, because we are not in an offline environment where we can see everyone face to face. So if somebody is not available, we try to assume that they are busy with something else. Sometimes it happens that there is a miscommunication and you are expecting something from someone, but the communication itself was flawed. So maybe they had a different understanding. So in these cases, we try to give everyone the benefit of doubt. If there is a mistake that happens, we try to understand what could we have done to avoid that mistake. And then we learn from that rather than blaming someone. So that's generally how we follow kindness in our teams. Talking a little bit about why do we need to do documentation? So there are many reasons why documentation is really important to our company.
Hey, Himanshi, I'll take just a minute. So
Sure.
some of the people have just joined. So there was a mistake on our end that there was an error in the link that was sent. So just apologies to those who just joined, folks. We will be debriefing right after this. And Himanshi, could you just we
Sure.
see that some part of your screen is a bit truncated, uh, and yeah, it works very well now. Thank you. Please continue. Uh, before that, I just want to give everyone a bit of an introduction to where we are. We have just started with our first part of our session, which is about kindness and being humane at work for remote work and how it helps people. This will be followed by a session by Jordane, where we will cover working across remote teams with respect to time zones, and then we will have Q&A and a general discussion. There will be a debrief after this. Thank you so much.
Vaibhav, do you want me to go back a little to help people, or is it okay for me to continue from here?
You can continue, or you can.
Sure. Guys, like if you have any question or if you're feeling like the context is a little lost, like please feel free to write in the chat or like, unmute yourself and like, take a, like, say what you wanted to say by raising your hand. Okay. Okay. Moving on. So, why do we do documentation and why is it important to us? So for us, during remote work, like it saves a lot of time because when we were working offline, like between in between meetings, like somebody could grab us and ask a quick question, like a developer who's stuck at something, a business person who wants to know the status of something. Those conversations could be done within meetings or within a 2 or 4 minute time span. Now, if anyone wants to check up on something with us, they need to schedule a meeting, and that usually at least takes 15 minutes. So, if we do extensive and nice documentation, it saves a lot of time. The second one is that it forms a common understanding and aligns stakeholders about the requirements, deliverables, and status of the deliverables. Again, like people have short attention spans and people are multitasking while we are discussing, so sometimes they miss what is the discussion alignment. So if they refer back to the documentation such as specification or project reports, they can check what's happening. um, Also, sometimes we have a language nuance. So I work with teams in Japan and India, and none of their first language is English. So sometimes it happens that we explain people something during the meeting, and it's a limitation of online that we cannot use a lot of like drawing or like using a handboard. So then if we share documents like meeting minutes later, it helps us overcome the language barrier, and people can confirm the same understanding. Another thing is that it's easy to confirm the decisions from discussions or meetings. In companies like ours, we run projects which span over years. More often than not, like the person who's engaged in the decision, like there is a possibility that any stakeholder could forget what was the decision or why something has happened in a given way. When you have a comprehensive document and how the decisions are taken, like it is easy to confirm the decisions. What we generally do is we try to maintain a decision chart of anything that anyone brings up. Sorry. Okay. So we try to bring up anything that anyone has decided based on discussion. We write all the pros and cons and what was the recommendation and the proposed decision. So all that is documented by our teams and can be referred later by anyone who wants to question or challenge a previous decision. It also helps us save time if we want to redo something. It'll it helps us understand why we decided something to be done in a certain way or why the other approach was considered or rejected. So the next one is like, how do we do documentation? So the first one is that there is no right way to do documentation. For us, what we do is we follow some standard protocols about the contents of the documentation. And for example, if we have a specification, we include basic things like the background, the UI, UX, what are the trackings that need to be done, what is the user story, and all the details about the specification. But what we also do additionally is we take feedback from the team which needs to use that document. Like for example, if we talk about specification, it's primarily used by the dev team and the QA team. So something that happened recently for our teams was that our QA team suggested that while we have the specification, we should also additionally try to make a comprehensive list of all the test cases which needs to be mentioned in the documentation. And of course, like you can you know keep take keep taking feedback from the team and improving your documentation. Similarly, we also try to use the most commonly accessible tool which is available to everyone in the company, like for us, that is Jira and Confluence. So we manage our task primarily on Jira, and we try to document all the specifications and reports on Confluence, and all the things which are stored in presentations or documents, let's say a Word doc. Those are uploaded to Box and shared with everyone who has a Rakuten email ID. Additionally, one more thing that I try to practice is as product managers, there is not enough documentation that we can do for the team. So I try to manage a backlog of documents that I need to create. And whenever I get time in between meetings or I have some free time, I try to create documents from that backlog. So these documents, they can be referred by QA or by development team or by business or marketing team later. Additionally, to add on that, like two more things that I do is that it really helps me manage communication and build trust with the team. Is that at the end of the day, I check all the mails or messages or requests that I've received. For those of you wondering, I use Slack primarily. Slack has this tool on the in the left menu. Slack has something called threads and DMs and drafts. In threads, you can see all the conversations that you have had in your day or previously, and in DMs, you can check all the direct messages that you have received. What I do is the ones that have action items, either I add a reminder to them or I mark them as unread, and I go back through the entire list at the end of the day, so I can make sure that I reply to everyone who expected a reply or all the questions or queries were addressed. And when we discuss or decide something as a for something that needs to be added to a documentation, I make sure at the end of the day I also add those back to either the Jira tickets or task or the specification document. So that's two things that I try to do additionally with regards to the documentation. Okay, moving on from documentation and talking a little bit about how to create accountability. So the first one to create accountability with the team is that you set expectations clearly with the team. You can define meetings, processes, sprints, and you keep iterating these processes, by taking feedback from the team. A lot of times, what we did initially was that we wanted to follow agile or we wanted to follow scrum or waterfall, but we as we start working with these methodologies, we also started to notice what is that works best for our team in this environment. For us, we recently have started following a method called Scrumban, which is a hybrid between a Scrum and a Kanban. So what we basically do is if our priorities change, we allow uh, the task to be added to the sprint while something else needs to be taken out. So the whole sum of the sprint is kept same, but something can be added or removed based on the change in priorities. We also define meetings like daily huddles, sprint planning, retrospective for our engineering teams. For our business stakeholders, we have weekly sync up. For the management, we have weekly general manager reports. Also, we try to create a system based on trust. So, we don't between me and my product manager, we don't do micromanagement with the engineering teams that we work with. We instill a sense of work ethic. We don't try to ask them what you're doing at a particular hour, or you give us a report for each hour of your day. uh, we give some tasks to the people and we ask when they would be able to come back. Also, if people are facing some issues, we ask them to share it transparently, discuss it with us, discuss it with the team, and that also helps build a system of trust. Of course, it has taken some time for us to reach there, where people, even though they're working remotely, they can frankly and confidently tell us stuff and if they're facing any issues. The third one is that we encourage a sense of shared responsibility. So, for example, if the tasks are individually assigned to engineers, but like we more often than not, like if engineers face an issue, we try to assign another engineer to help them. So over long term, like other engineers feel responsible for each other. And also at Rakuten, we have a system of mentorship for each new person who joins. We ask them to there is a buddy assigned, and that buddy helps them through initial processes, and if they get stuck with any technical task and things like that. And also, like for people who have onboarded during the remote work, they have not met us in person, so they sometimes they feel a different dynamic than the rest of the team. To overcome that huddle, we try to check up like how they're feeling. Are they feeling motivated with the team? And we also encourage other team members to interact with them over formal or informal tea or like one-on-one sessions. The last one is focusing on the output. So members pick their solution. We allow them to set their own deadlines and deliver on their estimates. Basically what we do is when we have a task, like we ask the engineers to create estimates, and decide when they'd be able to deliver. And then also we allow scope, like sometimes they're not able to deliver, and we allow them scope, if they feel stuck or they need help, like we allow other people to help them. And also they can readjust their estimates based on the new facts or the situation. So that's how we try to create accountability in our teams. And so far, I feel that has been working good for us, because most of our team is actually working more, and like they have been in touch, and they seem friendly and jovial most of the times. And lastly, I want to share something that my general manager in Ichiba once told me. This is a little Japanese, so bear with the context. It's he said, he said, I make mistakes every day, but I don't die. So I start afresh every day, and then I can learn something new or make more mistakes. So with that thought, I want everyone to be aware that we are in the middle of a pandemic. If we are empathetic towards the people that we work with, and we try to encourage our team members to do the same, it will create a positive environment and like allow people to work comfortably within our teams. Thank you so much for paying your attention and like listening to my session. Um, Lastly, if you want to add me on LinkedIn, this is the QR code. Or if you want to connect with me later, you can also write to me at himanshi.dce@gmail.com.
All right. Uh, Thanks, Himanshi. You could maybe stop sharing your screen and we can take in
Yeah.
some of the questions. Hey, everyone. So for those of you who just joined, thank you so much. Thanks, Himanshi, for taking us through the frameworks that you use at Rakuten, especially related to the emphasis on kindness and empathy at work. There are certain questions related to this. We'll take those before we move to Jordan, who will talk to us about uh, working across time zones and tracking progress. Uh, those of you who missed the early part, you'll receive a recording. Okay, so let's start with the first one. There's a question from, yeah. Okay, there's a question from from Prashant, that there's a thin line between kindness and trust and people sort of taking advantage of systems or maybe slacking off.
Right.
How do you ensure that this does not happen? How do you deal with it from a productivity perspective?
I think that is a very good question, Prashant, because one of the biggest pitfall of trusting people or like showing kindness is that like some people could be trying to take advantage of this. What we do as a team, like though most of our team members are very are accountable for their tasks, there are also instances where we felt like people are not delivering on their task. How we deal with that is that we try to take a very objective approach to that. While we consider the feedback from the product manager and which is me, and the project manager that I have on the team. We also try to discuss this with other engineers, because sometimes we have seen both sides of the coin. Like sometimes we feel that somebody is not delivering, but the rest of the team actually knows what is the effort that they are putting in, and they're not able to show that effort to us, or we are not able to notice it on our own. The other thing is that there are some people who are actually trying to take advantage of the system. In that case, like if that is the scenario, we try to give them feedback that you have certain tasks and you've not been able to deliver. And if we continuously face this issue, we try to talk to them, their direct reporting manager, and get them to look into the situation. I hope that answers your question.
Are there any follow-ups, Prashant? Like, if any of you have follow-ups to your questions, you could always open your mic. It's an open mic.
No, it's a very complete answer, Himanshi, and I really want to thank you for fantastic presentation. Thanks a lot. It's very insightful and very helpful.
Thank you, Prashant.
Thanks, Prashant. Let's take the next one. The next question is from Vatsalya. Vatsalya, I would, if you're on the call, I would request you to maybe just speak this out, because I think I'm missing some context in your question. I would say ask if there's any measurement of a system to check its, trust and matureness. Vatsalya, do you want to elaborate on that question?
Yeah, so Himanshi and Weber, my question is, whatever you talked is good, but it's obvious. Like, I believe everybody is doing product management or product engineering, they'll be part of this. Now, if you say I'm coming from a product management background, if I talk about cross collaborations, if I talk about maturity of the systems, so so how do you measure that? What is your, like, one is my gut feel, okay, this team is doing good, but
Mhm.
do you have any metrics around it which you've used, or an assessment model where you say this team is not that mature and we'll take it from, say, on a scale of 10, its team is at 3, we'll take it to 7, and these are the steps that we need to do that. So do you have any thoughts around how do you want to go about that?
Sure, sure. That's actually an interesting way of looking at the processes itself as product management. What I want to share, like what we do and what could be a good way to track it in the long term. So for us, this has been something that we've been doing for 6 months, and we've been continuously iterating our approach to product and project management. What we do track, Vatsalya, is that what is the productivity of the team. We try to monitor like how many tasks were there in the sprint, and how the people are delivering against those tasks, and we give feedback to the team as based on that. We also try to look at subjective metric, as you mentioned, there are things like gut feeling, but we also try to look at subjective metric, like what is the response of the people to the suggestions, like how people are interacting with each other, how much they are engaging in daily huddles and the team meetings.
Yeah, maybe I'll add some context to that too. So I've also been working with a lot of remote teams, both developers and business. It's one thing, Vatsalya and others. One thing at least we've noticed at Grab as well is you need to set the expectations right and make sure everyone has bought into it. But after that, you cannot really micromanage, and then it's those deliverables that sort of tell you whether someone has been doing it or not. And if they're not able to, then you train them a bit. Thanks, Himanshi, for that answer. There's deal with extra working hours. Titash, maybe we'll take your question slightly later. We'll move on to the next part of our session today, which is with Jordane. So for those of you who just joined, Jordan is a product manager with Revolut, which is a growing fintech firm based in UK. Jordan works on the financial fraud products at Revolut. He's based in Singapore, works with teams across Europe, and today he's joining us from Paris. And he's going to talk to you about the second part of our session, which is around how do you effectively manage cross-border and time zone collaboration and hold teams and track progress. So Jordan, on to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Hi, everyone. So today I will talk about how we can work in across time zone and tracking progress. So first, a bit of introduction about myself. Um, I'm Jordan Jean-Louis. So I'm from France and I'm based in Singapore. I'm actually an associate project manager at Revolut and I'm part of the financial crime department. So what is Revolut? I know that most of you are from Asia, and Revolut is actually not really a company that is well known in Asia. To give you a bit of context, Revolut is one of the biggest neobank worldwide, the second biggest after Nubank. And we are present in more than 20 countries, mostly in Europe, but we launch in Japan. We launch also in Australia and we launch also in USA. Revolut is a fintech when you can actually open a banking account. You can buy stocks on the American market. You can also buy cryptocurrencies. You also have the possibility to buy gold or silver, and you can exchange money. So you can buy some Singapore dollars and exchange it for euros or US dollar or even yen or Australian dollars easily within the app. Um, we are the fastest growing company in the UK for the last 2 years, and one of the fastest growing worldwide. So I've put some press release. Some of them are, as you can see, the one below from February. So when we raised 500 millions, and we add an extra 80 millions at a 5.5 billion valuation, and the two others, the one on the top right is from Sunday Time. So it was actually last week when back to back last year and this year we were the fastest growing startup in the UK. And the one on the top left, you can see that Deloitte Fast 500 awarded us the title of the fastest growing technology company in Europe, Middle East and Africa. So to give you a bit of background, regarding myself, my team is spread across the UK, Germany, Poland, and me, I'm in Singapore with some other team members. When we're talking about working with different time zones, we can see that some issue appears. Those are three key issues that I want to talk, and I will try to provide you three key takeaways that you can apply directly at work. So the first one will be keep the team together. The second one will be keep everyone aware of each other's work. And the third one will be holding team members accountable. What do I mean by keep the team together? When you're not working physically in the same office with your team members, it's very difficult to actually build a trust relationship with them, to really like find and see a bond within the team. The second one, keep everyone aware of each other's work. You can see sometimes it happened to me that when something happened in London, you're going in Singapore in the morning and you're not aware of what's happened because you were sleeping. It was night on your side, but you need to put everything that you are possible to do to make sure that everyone is aware of each other's work. The third one is holding team members accountable. What do I mean by that is that it's easy when you are in the same office to just grab your colleague at his desk and ask him for some document, ask him for some feedback, or ask him why what he was supposed to do is not done yet. When you spread across London and Singapore, I cannot just jump into a flight and go to see my colleague and ask him. So the first key takeaway that I want to provide to you is communication, communication, and communication. Build comfort and trust. That's something that is really important because you want your team member to feel empowered to kind of like build this comfort and trust and feel this bond within your company. So you have to prioritize video chat. You have to make time to have small talks. So in Revolut, what we are doing actually is basically we set up sometimes weekly time when you have at large scale and sometimes at team level, time for people to share things. It can be a grab coffee, it can be, I mean, really popular things like grab coffee, maybe yoga sessions. We also add Netflix session when everybody is watching the same episode of same TV show or same movie. So you can create bond within the team, and then that will kind of like ease the work. Another example could be to have everybody follow the same strategy. And you have one of these example at Revolut is like we have to kind of measure if we are doing this the good way or not the good way. A weekly kind of set of questions that is sent to everyone at Revolut. And people need to actually answer some questions. So you have this one. Most days I feel a sense of accomplishment from what I do. This is an example of question that is sent. People need to answer this, and you have scale from 0 to 10. And then you can measure at the personal level, at the team level, at the department level. So this will give you an indication about if your team feel, for example, that the work that they're doing is meaningful, but also you have also a question about, do you feel that you are part of the team? Then you can quickly catch up and put strategy in place to see if there's something you're missing in terms of creating a bond, and if your team that is spread out across multiple time zones is actually not a team because they're not feeling that they are part of a team. So that's something that you can easily implement into your own company, into your own team. You don't need to actually set up something very difficult. Just a Google form every week. You can like test it, send it, and get the feedback and see if actually the people in your team feel that they are part of a team. So create it trust and create it the bound. This is another example that we have at Revolut, more about how we create the bond as we are part of the same department, then the same country team, and then the same company. So we have something at the department level called the demo day. So that's bi-monthly, and we have this on Friday, and we have people at the department level that will present. So I will go on stage, or now that is remote, I will go basically share my screen and do a presentation like this one, explaining what my team is doing, what I'm doing. So everybody at the department will know. I will feel valued, people will know, and then I will have a feeling of accomplishment. People will see what I'm doing, and the whole department will feel that we are part of the same one because we're all sharing what we are doing. We all see where everybody's pieces come into place. So we have the same thing as a country level when different teams within the same country will share what's happening, and then you also create this bond at the country level. Same as the company-wide town hall, when every week we have the senior management, or sometimes we have also some uh, product designer, product manager. You can have someone that's working on the support side, someone working as an analyst or customers engineer, and they will provide the insight about some topics. So you will feel that you create this bond within the company. So people can feel that they are still together. The second issue that I want to address was the fact that when you're at different time zones are merciless. You need to be aware of time differences, and you need to make the people in your team empowered to push back on meetings. It happened for me. I mean, a couple of months ago, I was the only one in Singapore, and I was receiving invitations for meetings that were at 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m. in Singapore time. On London time, it was 6 p.m. So as I was the only one in Singapore, it was I would say, not easy to push back on those meetings because the company needs to move on, the project needs to move on. The thing that you need to be capable of doing is push back, and that's something that you can do more easily if you created the trust and the bond because you feel valued, people value you and know what you can put on the table. And then when it's that very critical meeting, they may not rescheduling every time, but they will say sometimes and more often than never that, okay, we know this person, we know what he brings to the table, we can actually reschedule to make it more comfortable for him. So on my side, when I joined Revolut, because before I was exclusively working with people in the same office as mine, it was kind of like hard to adjust to this. Um, I just schedule meetings at the wrong time, people that were not in my time zone without asking them why they were refusing my meeting, why sometimes they were showing up but not really participating to the meeting. And I have a quick hack for you to share. So this is a quick example of a screenshot of my own Google Calendar. So you can see that on this side, you can put multiple time zones. This is what I'm doing. I have the Singapore time zone on the left. I have the French and Poland for Krakow time zone on the right. So I know that when I'm putting a meeting with the people in my team that are in Krakow, Poland, I exactly know what is the impact on them. If I put a meeting that will be at 4 p.m. Singapore time, it will be 10 a.m. for them. So I know that I cannot put a meeting at 1 p.m. Singapore time. This way they will feel valued. If they see that there is an issue, and as they know that I'm
We seem to have. Uh, Jordane, are you still there? Okay. Uh, Folks, I think we're just getting Jordane back on call. Till then, we'll have some more questions being answered. There are, I think, a couple of questions here. We will be answering those till Jordane is back on call. Okay. Himanshi, there was a question for, yeah, there was a question for you. Now, this question was around managers, so, sometimes we have a, let's go with this. Yeah. So when you're talking about, remote work, and there are managers who keep delegating their work to subordinates, but they may not, so this is a perception, right? So that they may not actually make a contribution. How do you guys ensure that even managers are held accountable with your kindness? I mean, aside from the kindness framework, and how do you keep track that even the managers are held accountable? Rakuten.
I would want to clarify when you say the managers are being held accountable, are you talking about the team managers, or are you discussing about general, like a product or project managers here?
So, hi Himanshi, Sandeep here. Can I ask now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So when I say it's a project, it could be project manager or manager. Sometimes we see that's, let's say there is a team of 5 people, including one manager, and we are getting output. There is no doubt about that. So let's say we have 5 projects, but they are keep delegating to their people, but there is no individual contribution. Maybe some project might be, instead of having complete within 15 days, could have done in 10 days also, if manager would have put their brain itself, or project manager or leader, team leader, whosoever it will be. So how we will ensure that they are also contributing all those projects?
I see. Okay. I'll share from my example. I'll try to touch upon both managers and product and project managers. So for like me as a product manager and the team, working with a project manager. So how we hold ourselves accountable to people is by the things like, people keep asking, like our team members ask us a lot of questions on a daily basis, or there are a lot of requests like, we need to clarify some specification, or somebody needs help with some tasks, or like somebody needs to be connected to other team members. So how we hold ourselves accountable is one of the things from my presentation. Like at the end of the day, we check all the requests, and we try to get back to people by either by the same day, or if we cannot respond the same day, we tell them that we need some more time to come back on it. Also, like the general philosophy that I have as a product manager is anything or everything that anyone else in the team is not doing, it basically goes to the product manager to pick up and do. I think for if you talk about only the line managers, another thing to be kept in mind is that at least from our structure, the manager's output is also measured by the output of the team, because they have specific management roles and responsibilities. Like they're responsible for the well-being of the whole team. They need to do appraisals. They need to unblock someone if someone is facing an issue. They need to also help with the communications with the other teams. So those are some of the things that managers are responsible for. In our cases, like we take them to for, let's say, an engineering team, we like take help from managers to support technical discussions with other external stakeholders, and discussing with like helping in the technical solution, or like helping the engineers with the solution itself. We also take help from managers if you are facing that somebody is not like delivering on time, or has been like continuously escaping their roles and responsibilities. However, from your question, if you have a scenario where the manager is not only responsible for the output of the team, but is also responsible for the general like his or her own individual output, I think like the best way to track that would be like putting the same practices that applies to everyone else to the manager itself. Like for example, when we do daily huddles, we share the status of everyone, like what is the status of their task. If the manager has individual contribution to make to the team, then that person should also be holding themselves accountable to the same standard that they expect the team to do. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Himanshi. Well answered. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandeep.
Okay, looks like we have Jordan back on. Jordan, if you're back on, can you just say hello?
Can you hear me?
Yep, Jordan. Sorry, we lost you.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, we can continue with your presentation.
All right. Sorry for that issue in terms of network. Okay, I will stop the video. Can you hear me? Can you see my screen?
Yes, please. Let's go.
So I don't actually know if I lost you at this slide or previous slides.
We dropped off when you were talking about your calendar.
Okay, so this one. All right. Okay, so yeah, I was talking about this quick hack that helped me when I joined Revolut, managing project development across Singapore and Poland and Germany now and UK. So basically on my Google Calendar now, what I have kind of like multiple time zones. So I put the Singapore one when I'm based, and I put the French one, Krakow one, when we have team members from the French team. But basically, you can do that and reproduce the same thing for your own teams. Your teams will be present in India, in Japan, in the US. And when you will set up some time to have a meeting with your team members, you will exactly see actually what is the impact on the own agenda. I know that as at 4 p.m. Singapore time is 10 a.m. Poland time, I cannot set up a meeting that will be at 1 p.m. because 1 p.m. Singapore time will be too early for my colleague in Poland. So I need to kind of like take this into account. My team members will feel that they are valued, that I'm not trying to just put the meeting where it's best for me. I will take the point of view into consideration, and they will feel that they are taken into account. They will be more happy to work with me. And this way, when I will try to reach to them, I will try to ask them if they did the task that they were supposed to do. We will have a more kind of like trust relationship. They will be able to tell me, look, I was not able to do this task, and they will not feel that I'm not someone that's taking into account what they are thinking. You can have also, and what we have, and I think most of the project manager use it, but it's something that is not common in some organization. When I was working at BNP, for example, we were not using a well-written Jira board. And that's something that I found at Revolut, a well-organized Jira board and clearly written project specs. You need to have a source of truth. You need to have a document. You need to have a product management tool. You have to have something. It can be Jira, it can be something else, where everything is up to date. Everything can be found, and that if someone that is part of your team or someone that is external to your team can check and be like, look, I have something to be done. I know that they took this into account. They have a ticket for that somewhere a state. So I know if it's in progress. I know if it's something that will be done maybe in Q4 or is supposed to be done in Q1 2021. And in the same time, when you have engineer, they actually know what they're supposed to do, but on your side too, you can make them accountable. Why? Because when it's very clearly written product spec, no one can question and say, I was not aware of that. No one can say, oh, look, I was not aware. I thought that it was something else. I implement something. I did my test this way. No, everybody has access to it. People can challenge what you wrote into your ticket, what you wrote as a user story, what you wrote in terms of acceptance criteria, but everybody will be able to see. And let's say that if you put a start date and an end date, and the end date change, then everybody will be able to see it. They will see that there's a new end date. They will see that the ticket was updated maybe a few hours ago or a year ago, and you can make your team member accountable, and you sure that this way everybody is aware of what's happening. I was caught up in some calls when some of my colleagues in Poland asked me if a certain task was done. And I had no clue. I had no clue at the beginning because I was not aware that we had a Jira board, and I was not aware of how detailed it was. And now it's part of my daily routine to have this Jira board as organized as possible. And we now kind of have Jira everywhere, and we have all the updates put into Jira, everything up to it. And we are for people that even not using Jira, but if they want to kind of catch up on something and they have contact with another team, they create a ticket on the service desk, they can follow what's happening on real time. And that's very powerful. People know it, people use it, but they don't realize because it's so simple now that it's very powerful tool. So to summarize my key takeaway, I would say that you need to build trust within your team. And if you can scale at the department level, at the company level, if you can be on top of this initiative, you then need to take care of make people feel valued when you organize a meeting. Be sure that you're aware of what time zones they are on. Be aware of what is the impact when you set up a meeting, what is the impact when you have a last minute call. Something needs to be done on their own schedule. And you need to make sure that everybody is aware and know what's happening. Um, you can follow me on LinkedIn, contact me on my email if you have any further question. If you want to discuss more about project management, Revolut, or any other further inquiries.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for sharing all the good work that you guys do at Revolut. And I was particularly intrigued by those sort of the mood and culture surveys that you do with respect to people rating how they feel. I think that really must be helping must be helping in getting a good frequent pulse check of how the team members feel. So that was quite good. Um, so we uh, and yeah, and a nice hack on the Google Calendar that seemed to be pretty good as well. Is that something you all typically? Is that something all of you do, and you advise others as well?
So that's something that is not, it was not like a common practice, but that's something that I started to do and I encourage people to do because we now at Revolut, and most of the company now because of COVID, but at Revolut, we will keep being a full remote company even after COVID. So that's something that we will need to kind of implement at some point because people, I'm, for example, based in Singapore, as I said, but my scope is global. I'm building product for Revolut worldwide, not for the Asian market. And you need to actually have this kind of arc and implement those kind of like um, yeah,
Got it. Got it. All right. So we'll take everyone on the call. So now it's more of an open house where you can ask your questions. We have one question which we'll take, which was asked earlier, and after that, I invite some more questions, whether it's generic or to Jordan or Himanshi, and we'll try to answer those. Uh, so before we get there, there's one question that we missed. This was to Himanshi for uh, Rakuten. Can you, so Himanshi, could you give an example? You spoke about shared responsibility and a buddy system. where people take responsibility of a task together so that they do not, let's say, slack off. Can you give an example of where this shared responsibility or buddy system has helped out someone in the team, and how do you actually facilitate this or put this into action?
So, how this system, so there are two things. So, one, talking about the mentorship program. So, when somebody joins Rakuten, everyone's assigned one mentor, and this person is separate from the line manager or a product or project manager that's working with them. So this mentor helps them on board to the to the team, learn about Rakuten in general, learn about let's say what are the basic processes in terms of how do we raise a pull request, how do we create the build, how do we publish some changes, how do we how do we name our build or release. So those things they are taught by the mentor. How someone benefits from this is for example, like somebody is new. I'll give you an example from our project. For our Android app, we don't follow the normal Android architecture. Our system is actually quite complicated. We decided to follow some different approach because we wanted to make it more efficient. Now, though the system is more efficient, the problem that happens is that somebody who's an Android engineer who joins newly, still they might find our system a little complicated to understand. So in those cases, when Android engineers join, the buddy system helps them that whoever is the mentor, like they do some peer programming and they help them with the initial task that they can onboard to the team. Also we have joint discussions for example I as a product manager give a list of tasks, and the team itself decides based on the skill level of each engineer, like how new someone is or how someone understands our particular task versus a task which requires the understanding of the whole project. So based on those things, the team itself takes responsibility and divides tasks. And wherever somebody is stuck, they we encourage that people reach out to the people in the team rather than reaching out to a manager or a product or project manager. So with that kind of culture, it really helps people grow and have a bond with the teammates as well. Does that answer your question, Karan?
Okay, we will take that as a yes. I think it was seconded by someone else as well. Okay. All right. Any more questions? There's a question for Jordan here. So Jordan, the question to you is, you spoke about the mood and culture survey. Do you also at a cumulative level or anonymously share this with the team, that what is the result of the survey and help in building the culture?
Yeah, so basically, so we have this survey every week. It's then aggregated and it's part of the KPIs. So you can see for every single team, you don't know who would what, but if you have a team of 10 people, you will have an aggregated score that will tell you if the team's feeling, if the team members are feeling well, they feel that the work is valued, they feel that as a personal level, the manager is actually caring about them and this kind of thing. So that give the company a way to kind of track this. And the result of the survey are shared globally within Revolut. So that's, I think, on my personal side, I think it's the good way to kind of track and not saying we're doing something without tracking if this has any impact. We can lose them in impact. People anonymously answer, so you don't have to fake anything. You say what you want to say, and you know that in the town hall, for example, the country level or the company-wide town hall, those topics, because you can also comment and propose some initiative, are discussed.
Okay, so there is transparency around that. Once the data is collected, it is shared.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have a question from. So we have two questions, slightly generic ones, and so let's take the first one there. which is from Hitash. So it appears that there are extra working hours now since you're working from home, and people keep scheduling meetings even outside of working hours. I guess a lot of us in the call can relate to this. So any of you have an insight into that? Maybe Himanshi, you could start, and Jordan, you could add to it.
Sure, sure. That's actually a very interesting question, Titish. The thing is, like, as product managers, my belief is that our role is not limited to 9 to 5. So for me personally, like I'm usually attending meetings from the in the usual working hour. Then once those meetings are done, then I find time like after the working hours to do my work. But that has been the norm, like not only when we are working from home, but when we were working from the office as well. So in my case, like I try to minimize it, but I still find it difficult at times to not do extra working hour. But for the team, like we don't ask the team to attend meetings after working hours, and we tell them that they're responsible for their own output. If we do come across someone who's been online like a lot after the working hours, like then we do try to tell them that they don't need to work after hours, or they should go offline and try to do their work tomorrow. We try to create a general guideline, like people should only work the like hours which are expected of them. And that's I think that's still a weak measure against it. Like probably we need to come up with some more effective measures on how people can avoid it. But baseline, we don't force anyone to do extra work. We like rather tell them that they should not.
Right.
What do you think,
Yeah,
Jordan?
yeah,
To add,
the same on our side.
this
Oh,
might be impacting
sorry.
you a lot more, right? Because when time zones are different, maybe someone starts work after you, but they end it after you as well. So does it make you work a lot more?
Yeah, I would say that it really depends. Really depends. As if on some projects, I may have to work a bit later than usual, but I will start also a bit later than usual. So you kind of adjust. You have full autonomy on how you manage your time. Nobody will force you to attend a meeting on go on a call at an unusual time. And as we're using Slack also at some point Slack automatically detect that is not in office hours, and icon will say that actually you are not in office hours. So everybody will want to like talk to you. We'll see exactly that the notification will not go straight to you, and we'll see directly what is the time where you are located. But nobody is actually working extra time, I would say. It's kind of like manageable. And I never saw anything that is kind of like extreme, people working from 8 to 11 or something like that for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay, so you're saying that you sort of take the autonomy to define your working hours. So if your teams are sort of working late, then you maybe start late, but do
Yeah,
like
yeah.
17 hours. That's a fair point. Maybe so. There's one last question here, which is yeah, I see we're a bit above time. So there's one last question by Raj, but I want this to be answered by others in the chat. So everyone else who's come here, I guess more than half of you answered the poll that you have remote working experience. And Raj's question is, there are pros and cons of working with distance and in office, right? And one of them, it could be efficient for someone else, may not be efficient for someone else as well. So I think the question that has been asked to Jordan and me and Himanshi is, what do we prefer? I want to maybe put the question out to the folks who have joined us. Why don't you tell us in the chat, what do you all prefer and why? Let's maybe take a minute or so to put our perspective on the chat. What do you all prefer? Okay. So the chat is a bit shy right now. Maybe since Raj, the question was asked, you guys have any perspective? John and Himanshi, do you have a preference
I think
on? Yeah.
initially when I started working from home, I kind of like missed going to the office a lot. But now I've become quite comfortable working from home. So I would prefer a hybrid model of I could, go to office for 2 or 3 days a week and like, remain at home and work from there for the others. What do you think, Jordan?
Okay, maybe let's have Jefferson and Titash, voice out how they feel. Because, I think one of them wanted complete face-to-face and Jefferson is more 50-50. Maybe Jefferson, we could start with you if you have something to add on your reasons.
Hi everyone, thank you for your talk. It was really really insightful. I prefer 50-50 mostly. So I'm based in Singapore, but like Jordan, I'm working for. So I used to be based in Paris, so most of my team are in Paris. But we're trying to build a team here in Singapore. So as we are just kicking off in Singapore, I prefer to have the face-to-face here in Singapore because I'm trying to learn how to work with the team and how to work also with the customer. But sometime of course, I realize that, for instance, most of my colleagues are not comfortable in going at the office and stuff like this. So I completely agree. And for when we have to ship stuff quickly and there is no immediate needs for the roadmap or for the delivery, yes, I will go for the online for sure.
Got it. It seems like a lot of people on the chat want a hybrid as well. Anyone else want to share a perspective or has a question? You can always just open your mic.
Hi guys. Only I would also like to add my perspective here.
Sure.
So I think that working from home has a bit of flexibility more than working in office in terms of, let's say, for an example, I stay in Mumbai, and as you know, Mumbai is a very big city and traveling is a very big problem in terms of taking time traveling. So daily I spend more than 2 to 4 hours going to office and coming back. So those 4 hours which I spend in traveling, I can do some of my hobbies, I can practice new things. All of that things actually help me in terms of making me more efficient. So I probably would like to have a hybrid if that's an option, or if that's not an option, work from home, because as you know, safety is also an important aspect right now, and we know that all this is not going to go one day. It still will take more time, maybe a year or more than that. But for the time being, I think work from home is basically a better option because you can connect with people all around the globe. So I have teams working from China as well, and so previously that was not possible. You had to go there and you had to connect with them personally, but now it's possible. So I think that's a better option. Thank you so much for the presentation. I loved it and I got a lot of insight on how to make it more efficient. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Raj. Thanks for your perspective here. All right, people on the call, any more questions, any more comments? If not, then we are going to get ready for a small group photograph. The last call for any questions. None. Okay. So before we end this, let's do it this way. I would request everyone on the call get to a decent place and maybe turn on your cameras. So although we are not together, we can still take a group photograph. So as you turn your cameras on, I'm going to take a screenshot, right? So I'm waiting for some more cameras to be on. All right, we've got some. All right, we have Shan, he's turned it on. Raj has his mask off as well. That's good. Good to see you. Diana, Muthu, Jefferson. All right. I'm going all right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for bearing with the technical difficulties, but all of this has been recorded. We will edit it properly so that none of the issues in between come in there. And we'll send you the video. We will also send you the slides so you can go through it. And thank you so much for attending and for participating. It was great to have you. And thanks, Himanshi, for making the time to attend. There's a feedback form in the chat. All of you could please fill it up. Yeah. Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
day,
you.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Shan. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, Raj. You too. Thanks, Paul. Don't forget to fill the feedback, folks. All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody.